This hour of the Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
You're listening to the Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KFTX.
And welcome to Autry, No Retreat for Thunderous, thoroughly, hopefully enjoyable Thursday. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, whether it be old school radio, which I still love. You can't kill radio. You can't beat radio. They have been singing the demise of radio for decades and decades and decades. It's going to go to, television's going to take it over. Nobody's going to listen to radio. Then they have Sirius, the satellite radio. Guillermo.
Oh, I remember that trend.
Welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
I feel so, like I know you so well, I have to welcome you to the show. This is me show, Sue show.
I like it.
But radio is going to be around forever. There's just something about it. In fact, I guess you were the one that told me, and I'm thankful that it happened. I think there was a movement to not have AM radio.
Oh, yeah, the car makers.
And the car makers, and they did a little retreat from that.
Yeah, they're having to step back. There's a couple of electric vehicles, Tesla, BMWs, that don't have the AM dial.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
No Tesla. I drive a Tesla. You're welcome to come with me any day and look at my computer. Always stop in the Starbucks for a little espresso. And I come in and I'm about to go and just, fill my battery up. You know what I mean? God, are you? Tell me the truth.
All right.
Because you went and got a Tesla, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
After you told me I will never drive an electric car. I'm Fossil Man.
I
am Fossil Man. I'm the superhero of oil. And then I come in one day.
I vaguely recall that.
I watch you walk out. I thought you had a rental. You're getting in your Tesla.
I was ashamed.
What the heck
You know that, right? For those first couple episodes when I got it, I waited for you to go first. And then I was like, all right, I'm just going to have to eventually break it down. So I was ashamed.
Do you still have your Tesla?
Yeah.
Well, at least
I'm not.
I don't mind hypocrisy if you own up to it. If you own up to it,
I'm hypocrite. Yes, I am.
But just own
guilty.
up.
I am. Yeah.
You know what I felt tomorrow? I didn't feel today, or this changed, that changed. The problem is in politics, they just do stuff, and then they don't say they're obviously wrong in their assumptions and they're wrong in the direction they go, i.e., 2 impeachments against President Trump, one for colluding with the Russians under the charge that about $150,000 worth of Russian ads gave the election to Hillary Clinton.
Oh, without a doubt.
And they turn this guy inside out. They give him the equivalent of a political colonoscopy, upside down. And after how many years was the Mueller report?
It was like at least 3.
3 years.
Yeah,
they come
3
up
years.
with nothing. There was
millions of dollars.
No collusion. And then the Durham report off the phone call to Zelensky.
The perfect call.
The perfect call.
It's the perfect call.
They find nothing. Now, did the media, did the Adam Schiffs of the world and Nancy Pelosi's of the world and the squads of the world say, you know what? We respect the court's outcome. This is this investigation's outcome. It was done properly. It wasn't fixed in a direct. And we were wrong. We were wrong. No, they don't say anything. Now, if Trump is convicted, they're going to be saying, "Oh my gosh, it was just an absolute. The law worked perfectly."
Oh yeah,
with Orange Man behind.
Justice was served.
Oh gosh, don't question that. But anyway, this all started with you getting a Tesla. See what little things can spark big arguments.
Speaking of,
I mean, we're not arguing.
So remember, you erroneously somehow validate yourself into thinking that there's not aliens.
Do you
So-
really want to go down that road?
So
I got
hold on,
one segment with you
I
today,
have-
and you got to skedaddle after one second, and you want to go there.
So let me tell you.
I will rip you a new one in terms of logic.
Let
Go
me-
ahead.
So last night I was outside, and my sister said, "Look up at the sky. Hurry, come, quick."
Hmm.
And I look up at the sky, and I kid you not, and I have video. It's a little shaky, and you can't really tell what it is, but I have video, and and I kid you not,
How much more time we have in this segment, Jeremy? What, 11 minutes?
it was
Okay.
it was about a 1 mile line of perfectly straight line lights, and they were in a perfect line, but they were the spacing was not perfect, and it flew over. And I got my camera, I got the video camera out, and I started, doing this whole thing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what the heck is this? And it just felt really eerie. And me and my sister were the only ones that saw. There was nobody out there. And so what I decided to do was I'm not making this up. I Googled it because I was like, surely that's too low to be flying. And
Surely some other Nimrods are saying the same thing. Right? That's what you're saying.
So,
Not that I'm calling you a Nimrod. You're sitting there with your law degree. You got more intellect in your fingernail than I have my whole body. I get that.
well, I wanted to call you
But
at
there's
that
a
moment.
difference between intelligence and absolute insanity.
So this
you
is,
know?
I'm not
People, highly intelligent people can also be bat doo-doo crazy.
Yeah, so I'm
In
not
terms of certain subjects.
I'm not doo-doo
like
crazy.
this one.
So I Googled
Like this one. UFOs and aliens.
So I Googled it, and you know what it was?
What was
It was Starlink, Tesla, Elon Musk. I have no
Oh.
idea what the heck they're
Oh.
doing.
it? What do you mean? A logical explanation of a phenomena in the sky? That's unbelievable.
So I want to let you know that I'm factually based, and I didn't go to aliens right away.
Now listen, we got enough lying on the airwaves.
Not from us.
I just got news for you, and I have to re-say it again for all those out there that, a lot of good friends of mine are going to find this, what I'm about to say, very offensive, very closed-minded. I get it, but I am who I am. I believe what I believe, and I don't believe what I don't believe. And I hate to. He's showing me this thing now, right in the middle of my just a bunch of lines in the sky. Yeah, looks just like a Starlink text. I'd look right up there and I'd say automatically Starlink text.
Really?
Elon Musk. Oh yeah.
I've never.
Well, let me give you an example.
Maybe I don't go outside
Let me
enough.
give you an example. Here in the San Joaquin Valley, but in other parts of the country, mind you, this happened. And I blame the military because they're just sitting back there. There are people that are testing. There was these lights that were seen. And this was about, mid-90s, I think, Guillermo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a phenomena all across the country. It happened. This very same thing. A light would start upward, what looked to be from the ground, would come up, this light would come straight up very slowly, then hang there for a while, then zoom, just take off. People are like, holy cow, that defies any kind of human technology that we have. Something, the spacecraft that can come straight up, doesn't need a takeoff lane or whatever, just goes straight up, hangs there, then shoots like a rocket ship. Aliens are attacking. Well, you know what they found out? Let me tell you what that was. It was a thing called a Harrier jet. And it was a jet plane that came up off the ground like a helicopter. Came up. It was a jet, though, but they had this technology that allowed it to raise up, hang there like a helicopter. But when it took off, it didn't take off like a helicopter. It took off like a jet. It was the military testing out new advanced equipment. So this stuff that these pilots are seeing off the side, off their wing, that looked like a little, I don't know, it looks like a little tic-tac. And they're saying that the tic-tac is, oh, God, it's defying gravity. It's going into the water. It's jumping back out. I hate to break this to y'all. There's there's three things you can be sure of. Elvis is not alive. I love Elvis. I would like nothing more to go to see Elvis concert. He'd be about 75, 76.
He is, Alan, and he's on an island with Tupac
I would want him.
and Biggie. They're Michael, MJ.
But I know this breaks the heart of a lot of you all out there, but Elvis has gone to heaven. Elvis is not alive.
He has literally left the left the building.
Number two, there is no Bigfoot Sasquatch that has been purported. Why do I know that? Because there hasn't been one. There's been so-called sighting videos of this. You talk about the panda bear in the zoo. They're debating whether it's a man or a real panda in that Chinese zoo.
Yes!
Where you see this Sasquatch thing, and the guy obviously is in this bear outfit, walking just like a man. Oh, there he is, Sasquatch. There is no Sasquatch, not because we don't have video of a Sasquatch. I would be more intrigued and would be willing to listen more if somebody out in the woods, because they've combed the woods for Sasquatch, and they have not found one Sasquatch turd. They have, that big Sasquatch eats a lot. He's going to be dropping a load all over the forest. And you have a footprint. You can make a footprint. You can get one of those fake things. It's tough to fake a dump that big. I mean, you mentioned the size of the Sasquatch turds that we've got. Haven't seen one of them. So Sasquatch does not. And the final one, 3, there is no aliens. Life as we know it, of any kind of form, breathing, intelligent life forms, the intelligence like we have here on Earth, it doesn't exist. And yet, I'd ask you this. You've got the war in Ukraine going. You've got the Maui thing going and the horrible thing there. I was just watching TV last night on St. Jude's, because I give to St. Jude's a little bit each month. And what they're doing, they don't charge any parent, any kid that brings their kid there with cancer. And they're needing money because they want to serve more people, and they don't care if you were born into a blue blood family or not. Your kid has cancer, you come to St. Jude. We'll take care of your kid the best we can. We'll take care of you so you can be with your kid.
Amen.
Man, what a mission that is.
Amen.
My question is, what thing of value are we experiencing here on Earth that you can measure, that you can talk about, that has come from exploring deep space? I'm not talking about going up where you have...
What thing of value?
What one thing of human value have we brought back from our gazillions of dollars sending contraptions, going to the moon? What did we bring back from the moon that benefited any of us?
Did we really go to the moon?
Well, that's my fourth one. We did go to the moon. I'm sorry. Steven Spielberg did not direct.
Did we? Come on.
No, we're making it definitive. The 4 cornerstones.
The 4 cornerstones of what?
Elvis is not alive. There is no Sasquatch. Okay. There are no aliens. And we did go to the moon.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
But you look at it now, up a space a little bit where the shuttles go and you have the satellites. That makes sense. That's not deep space. And they could do some experiments and have done some experiments, so they say, on the joint space station with Russia and the United States. Well, Russia's already pulled out now, so it's just the United States up there conducting these experiments. And there could have been some value, as there's certain things you can do with components and elements in a zero gravity situation, but you can replicate zero gravity in these chambers they have here on Earth. You think of the gazillions of dollars that have been spent trying to find out where we came from, how the universe was started. Now, there's something to be said for curiosity, but you're never going to find that answer. Where about sending money and taking that money and giving it to St. Jude, finding a cure for freaking cancer? Is there one family out there listening right now, one person listening right now or watching, that doesn't have somebody in your family or know somebody that's had cancer, that's ravaged them? Mm-hmm. We can eradicate that. If we really attack cancer like we, with the fervor that we want to go into deep space and find aliens, we can cure cancer in a week.
Amen.
All right. This is Alan Autry, Know the Truth. We'll be right back.
Soul Man.
Hey, did you see the No Betters? Okay. Cool. I got to thank the people. The numbers on our show we did Monday.
Yeah.
We almost doubled.
Really?
I did yesterday. Facebook. I forget what
Alien?
I think it was you running for mayor.
Yeah. I think this alien one will beat that one.
So Monday, I'm going to do your lesson.
All right, sounds good.
I'm going to teach you about. It's just illustrations, just loaded with lessons. Go get them, brother. Love you, man. All right, and I love y'all. Okay. All right, Jeremy. You ready, brother?
Almost there.
Oh, okay. Just let me know whenever
Okay.
you're ready, buddy.
Should be in about 20 seconds or so.
You got it. You got to take a load off Fanny. Have you found that?
I can get that soon, though.
Okay, no problem. I just thought of it right now. You're talking about Fannie Willis. Take a load off, Fannie. I bet Trump would like to take a load off Fannie. And put the load right on me. No, Fannie, don't put those bogus charges on me.
All right, I am good to go.
Crazy world we're living in, folks. In italics, crazy. I mean, beyond Patsy Cline crazy. Maybe we ought to play that. That's
All ready to jump back in?
ready. Let's do this thing.
All right, here we go.
Let's do it. Ready, big show. Some of you guys over 60 might know who that was. Remember Ed Sullivan? Right here tonight. The Beals.
All right, here we go.
On a really big show, the Autry show. Oh, man.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
And welcome back to Alan Autry. No retreat here on Thunderous Thursday. Just doing a shout out to our sponsors, Sinlaw and Valley Fitness. And not a sponsor, but we sponsor them, Sierra Charter School. Just some great partners we have. And also a big shout out to my daughter Lauren Lee Roche, Sean Roche, her wonderful husband, and Isaiah and Joseph, my two grandsons. They're able to watch every now and then, but I love y'all. Can't wait to see you. Okay, yesterday I wouldn't say we left it hanging, but I felt it was a little incomplete. And I'd like to pick that up on these RICO charges that Take a Load Off Fannie Willis came up with in Atlanta, Georgia. I started off my riff yesterday saying how much I love Georgia, the people of Georgia, and how disappointed and disgusted with, a district attorney that falls in line, or maybe she was leading it, I don't know, but taking such delight in bringing these charges against the president that are very, very flimsy. How flimsy? Well, so flimsy that she and her staff came up with RICO charges. When you come up with a RICO charge on something like this, the president seeking to get answers for an election he thought was rigged, excuse me, and a bunch of other people who thought genuinely that it was rigged. And we went over some of the reasons why any rational human being, Republican or Democrat, independent, who had lost an election like that and lost battleground states that they took before, and all of the election modifications and irregularities that were instituted because of COVID, you would be out of your freaking mind. You would be betraying not only your party, but all those people that cross parties lines to vote for you to put you in office if you didn't pursue it. I mean, there was no COVID restrictions when Trump beat Clinton, and yet she still to this day says he's an illegitimate president and she cheated. Stacey Abrams has no evidence whatsoever and still says that she was cheated in her election, that there was voter suppression. Now, that is RICO charges that were brought against the president. There's more, if you're going to use that standard, there's more RICO-esque violations and more of a case for RICO in the Clinton case, for sure, being involved with the, the dossier, the fake dossier, all of the people that were involved, including the weaponization of federal agencies that perpetrated little Elmer with FUD on me. Perpetrated the this phony theory that Trump colluded with Vladimir Putin and stole the election. Tons of people from the political world, the media, people in the government, as I said, federal agencies, all conspiring through an enterprise to go after and take Trump out. There's more of a case there, and then even then, I got to be fair here. The RICO law is not something that would be appropriately applied there. So you say, what is the RICO law? Some of you know, so please forgive me. I'm not saying that I'm smarter than you by any stretch of the imagination, but I get a little time on my hands and I study these things. I don't get every time deep in the woods and in every detail. I want to know the fundamentals of an issue, the fundamentals of what something is. If it's out there and it's affecting our daily life, and this RICO charge, if it sticks and the president does go to jail because of it, trust me, will affect you, your kids, your children, and the world that we live in. And one of these days, we'll spend a show connecting those dots, if you'd like. Because I'm not one who just throws that hyperbole out without, give an explanation. And maybe we should do a show, and we will, on how this type of miscarriage of justice, this railroading of a president, this making up laws, this unequal application of the law, and if successful, will change America forever for the absolute worst for our kids in areas of your life that you don't even fathom right now. We will spend some time here, and I promise you that. I want to get the show together. I want to make sure we got our notes together, we got our information together, maybe even have the emails open so you can participate. And in fact, I'm even thinking about making it a 2-part show. But I promise you we're going to come back with that. Explanation of why these RICO laws are so dangerous when applied by a DA. And I would ask you this. Do you really want the 2024 election decided by a cabal of district attorneys? Because that's what's happening. They were elected to uphold the law, prosecute really bad people. They're letting people go, murderers, rapists, out of the spirit of, well, they just had a bad childhood. So we need you're having Bodego people getting attacked, almost killed. The Bodego man defends himself, and you have Alvin Bragg, the same guy that brought the initial charges against Trump, the DA in New York, almost indicting the Bodego owner until there was this big uproar in New York and around the country. Thank goodness they had video. Guy was trying to kill him, and he defended himself. You have this cabal, Bragg in New York. You have the DC DA, the New York DA, Bragg, and you have now the Fulton County DA in Fannie Willis. And they are, in essence, interfering big time with the election. And how are they doing that? They want to make sure the front runner of the Republican Party, who will face Joe Biden in November 2024, does not only not run, but is safely behind prison, gagged. Because when you go to prison, your Twitter rights are suspended. You can't tweet from a prison cell. And they foolishly think that's going to be good for the country. And they say, well, Alan, the law is the law. These DAs, and we're getting back to the RICO thing. Just hang on. It's important you understand what that RICO is. But no, she doesn't have to bring charges against Trump. Alvin Bragg did not have to bring charges. I forget the other DA's name in Washington, but you don't have to. Jack Smith, even, if he's a special prosecutor, special counsel rather, but let's just stay on these two DAs who manufactured these charges out of thin air and stretched existing law to the point of absurdity to bring novel, what they call novel, meaning new. Coronavirus was a novel virus because it was new, never been seen before. These are novel charges that have never been seen before. So you got that these DAs made up a novel idea in terms of the law to hang Trump on. Okay? These DAs have what they call prosecutorial discretion, meaning they can weigh the positives, the negatives, the impact, the lack of impact, whether it's good for their state, bad for the state, good for the country, bad for the country. Does the crime really rise to the level of major felonies or not? They have the power to either prosecute a case or not prosecute a case, regardless of the evidence or what have you. Now, they have a moral responsibility if there's a preponderance of evidence, of which in the case of this RICO case being brought, the fact that she brought a RICO case as the fundamental foundation of her 40-something charges or whatever it is against the president and 18 other people shows there was not only not a preponderance of evidence, but even a smidgen of evidence that you could actually prosecute and win a case in court against these people. Okay, with that as the backdrop, let's again finish up with the fundamentals of what a RICO case is. It was brought before and got its fame. It was on the books way before Giuliani used it in New York in the early 90s to clean up New York in terms of the mafia influence. And the RICO stands for this. I may be a little bit off on something, but it's pretty much dead on. It stands for racketeer influenced corrupt organizations. Racketeer influenced corrupt organizations. So remember that term racketeering. It's very, very important. Well, in order to bring a RICO case like Giuliani did, the reason people hadn't done it before is because it's extremely hard to prove. You've got to catch a lot of people with a lot of evidence that they're conspiring to break the law, knowingly break the law, okay? Number one, that's very, very difficult. Giuliani was able to tap a lot of phones, get preponderance of evidence, and he had a lot of phone calls. But here's the other thing that you have to have. Two things you have to have. You have to have a enterprise involved in the racketeering charge. What does that mean? Well, it means what are you participating in illegal activity that you're engaged in, i.e. illegal gambling, illegal drugs, selling of drugs, prostitution. You have to have an enterprise. The mafia was involved in all three. Everybody knew it. But Giuliani, to put all of them behind bars, the John Gottis of the world, had to, number one, catch them in all of this communication, and they had to identify an enterprise. I ask you this. What enterprise, did these 19 people involve themselves in? What drug pushing, prostitution, gambling, what criminal activity? And you have to have been doing this activity for a time to show a pattern. You only had the election. They only had this issue one time in 2020. The only people doing that prior to that were Clinton and the Democrats in 2016. You should have, if you're going to do RICO laws against Trump and these 18 other individuals, then you should have done it in 2016. But my point being, the RICO law is being grotesquely misapplied to this case. And it's not just a sidelight. Well, we'll get them on all these other charges. The RICO charge is just an add-on. No. The RICO charge of criminality is the centerpiece. Now, here's another thing for you to consider when you poo-poo or discount that there's a conspiracy with the liberal DAs of your big cities, the Democratic Party, the media. I mean, I looked at my news feed here. Every single story, Washington Post, New York Times, The Atlantic, you can go on and on and on. The latest on the Trump indictment, nothing on the Hunter Biden situation. Zero. All you have is maybe a Fox News and Wall Street Journal. The rest of them are just like starving dogs in a meat house focused on this. and I believe conspiratorially with the Democratic Party, with big tech, who loves that corporate welfare that Biden hands out. Boy, you don't think they didn't like all those stimulus checks, all that stuff going to them, per employee? Give me a break. But these RICO laws, again, the reason it's not applied very often is it's very, very difficult to prove. Okay, if you happen to win, like Giuliani did, if you happen to win one of these RICO cases, almost never, that's an oxymoron, but it is consistently, when it's been used, when it's gone to appeal, it's been thrown out. Because you have to also prove that everyone involved charged in that RICO violation, a RICO criminal activity, you have to know what they were thinking. I know I'm breaking the law. I know I'm a participant in this. I don't care. I want to keep breaking the law and keep selling those drugs illegally, selling that, the prostitution, the gambling, all of that stuff. I know it's against the law, and I'm going to continue to do this. You got to prove with 19 individuals that they wantonly knew that President Trump absolutely, now mind you, got to be proved within a reasonable doubt. They got to say that jury's got to say absolutely sure every single one of these 19 people that have been charged knew that they had lost the election and were just following, Jonestown James Jones, otherwise Jim Jones, otherwise known as Donald Trump. We've all drank the Kool-Aid, and or the fact is, and Trump himself signals has to send out. He's the ringleader. He's the one they're going after. They're going after 19, but he's the big fish in the pond. We know that. Have to prove that he not only knew that he lost the election and was still doing these acts, which again were not illegal, anything that he did. There's one thing with a voting machine. We'll talk about that either later today or tomorrow. But you knew that you lost the election, and you were able to convince 18 other people to go along with you. It defies any iota of common sense. That's why but the reason people are very concerned about this is crazy insanity, corruption, outright visible 100% corruption that a 5-year-old could see gets through the judicial system and gets convicted or set free in some cases. When the evidence is preponderance that the person is guilty, they get off. And then there was a preponderance of evidence that the guy isn't guilty, they get convicted. I mean, you just go back. I guess all this started with the OJ deal. Is there anybody in America, including his attorneys, that did not know that O.J. Simpson, and believe with their heart of hearts, killed his wife? Come on. But 12 jurors unanimously set him free. I do go back to that. There was miscarriages in the South, way back in the South, back in the day when they would just railroad young black men in particular, and just rig the court and to have a all-white jury of racist people. And that was wrong. So wrong. But somehow there's a mindset today that in many cases it's payback. You talk to the jurors when they let OJ go. It was kind of a payback. Here's the problem, at least what I see, because I speak from a spiritual perspective. I believe God is watching. God is heavily involved in all of this. And there's a simple equation that I live by. Bad plus bad does not equal good. Bad plus bad does not equal good. So you let OJ go, you hang innocent black people, and you let a black murderer go because of what happened back in those days. That's like a neighbor coming, sneaking into your house, abusing your wife, beating up your kids. Neighbor A comes in and beats your kids within an inch of their lives, rapes your wife. Neighbor A does. And you stomp out the door and you come home. Neighbor A isn't home. So you go hit neighbor B in the face, who had nothing to do with it, who was probably trying to watch out for you. But you got to hit somebody that looks like the person who hurt you and your family. In this case, the color of their skin. So people, well, where does this tie into all of these charges and this and that? A whole lot, because our jury system, our judicial system, folks, is breaking down. The people, they did the latest poll, and trust in government is at an all-time low. And you know what's catching up fast? It used to be the court system, the judicial system was much higher in terms of trust. American people. People believe you could actually go and have a pretty good chance, regardless of where you were tried, whether you were a conservative in a crime case in New York City, or you were a liberal facing charges in Natchez, Mississippi. Excuse me. Regardless of what color you were, there was a feeling that we had progressed to the point where you had a pretty good chance for fairness and unbiasedness to have its way and come through that jury system. The majority of the people not too long ago believed that was the case. Now, if you look at the polls, it's way down in the 30s, which is just really chilling. That people think if they were convicted, if they were charged with a crime, any crime, as innocent as they could be, they would be fearful that the system would not work in terms of justice for them. That's a scary place to be. And when you look at what they're doing to Donald Trump, who I don't personally like this person, and I'll tell you the story of my dealings with him. I dealt with him intimately for 9 months here in Fresno. He did some things, and I'll explain, but I vote the policies, not the personality. But if they succeed in bringing him charges, which they already charged him, but trying him in Fulton County, Atlanta, or Washington, D.C., in New York, where there's maybe 3% of free thinkers there that are Republican or conservative, that really have an open mind. And you have 95% of the people that are just staunch, politically driven individuals that would convict Trump on any charge, regardless. They hate him that much. It's polluted. It's almost like the OJ juries. That's what we're seeing. And I'm not saying that there's not places in around this country where it would be the reverse. There probably is. But you allow such a big eye on this, not only in America, but around the world. This miscarriage of justice happened. This man gets convicted. He goes to prison. There'll be people doing victory laps and this sort of thing. They will rue the day that happened. And I'm not talking about violence being exacted on judges or jurors. Please give me a break. I condemn that no matter what the outcome. Nobody should hurt anybody or even threaten anybody. This gal from Texas that threatened the judge, in this case, absolutely. She needs to do some time. You do not make those kind of threats, much less carry them out. But you will have seen that this country will be so divided, so suspicious, and so cynical of our basic institutions that were created to keep order and keep a diverse country together, regardless of our nationality, our religions, our gender, whatever. Freedom and justice for all, whether you like the person or not. You flush those things down the toilet with this case, with the Orange Man, because I said it before yesterday and I'll say it today. You support these charges, you support this activity, you support this Alvin Bragg nonsense, this Fannie Willis nonsense, and these bogus charges made up out of thin air, brought out of their orifice of their body, and I'm not talking about their mouth. You go along and support this. It's unconscionable. You'll forever be shackled with it. that you participated in supporting this. He's not president anymore. Somewhere along the line, you let this man get inside your head and not only rent a condo, he bought a house inside your freaking head. And nothing else matters. You hate him more than you love your country. And quite honestly, and I'll debate anybody on this and give you my reasons why. I think that you don't really care about our kids and grandkids. And we'll let people listen and watch. A lot of people may agree with you. But I want to know where your justification is. Oh, no one's above the law. Absolutely correct. But no one should be victimized by an unequal application of the law with made-up charges that they wouldn't charge any other politician. They wouldn't charge any other office holder, local, state, much less a former president, with these flimsy charges. You're treating this guy like he's grabbed a AR-47 and went out and shot up a nightclub. And then that individual gets more sympathy than the president of the United States, who did what any other candidate would have done, who did what Clinton, she's still harping about it. But they simply did not believe they lost. They aggressively took action. They took laws that they felt there was some gray area. He took law advice from lawyers who said, you know what? This law is not 100% clear. We may have a chance here to get a recount or get access to machines, whatever. They're brand new freaking machines. We know they don't break down. They go. That should have been something that the machine manufacturer and the Democratic Party, everybody should have said, you know what? Let's break this thing down and make sure it worked all right. They break down the space shuttle when it comes down to make sure everything is working right. Why? Because one little tile came off of a tiny tile came off of the Challenger and it blew up. And innocent people were killed. Mr. McAuliffe, remember that? One little tile. So you're being to say that these voting machines, they are so perfect, they're better than the space shuttle. It's incapable of making mistakes. And first time used on a massive scale like this. That's why people get suspicious. They say, you know what? I don't believe that those machines broke down. I don't believe the machines were inaccurate. But why in the world are you resisting having a bipartisan, diverse group of folks look at it, take it apart, retest it, and just make sure. Just make sure that it didn't break down. Why in the world would you not welcome that? That's all you got to do. But they didn't do that. And let me tell you, anybody that, I guess one of the charges is they broke in, did something to try to get a hold of one of the machines, and that's bad. But even if they got the machines, my point again, we talked about it the other day, you attempt to overturn the election illegally how could you have overturned it by going in and getting access to a couple of voting machines? I don't get where you could say that even if they were doing what you said they were doing, even if they knew in their minds they knew they lost the election, which I do not buy for 1 second. I think they were sincere. And I believe it was wrong. I believe the election, there was some hanky-panky, but I don't believe it was enough to overturn. I think Trump, it was his own undoing. Those battleground states were razor thin when he won, and he didn't pay enough attention or do the right things. And I think he lost by a razor thin. But I would accept him or whomever if Trump would have won. Biden would have lost by razor thin. And Biden says, I'm with Hillary Clinton. Now, this is 2 times in a row that we've had the election stolen from us. And it was COVID, all of these new things in place. I want to make sure they work right because I think I beat Trump in this election. Well, go to it, Joe. Do whatever you can within the law to do that. And they went and did it. And that's what the Trump team did. And they didn't break the law. They challenged certain laws, whether they were actually written in stone, if the interpretation of those laws were absolutely 100% what they appeared to be, or whether they're, as they say, gray area on interpretation. Okay, that they had a right to do that. So how much time we got, Jeremy? Oh, in the whole show? Oh, boy. Okay. Okay. I hadn't planned spending that much time on it, but it's important. And wrapping this up is the reason they went RICO on this thing. And it's going to be the case that could put Trump behind bars forever because you get convicted in a state of Georgia, you can't be pardoned. So if DeSantis wins, he can't pardon Trump. Trump will die in prison if this guy has her way. And these folks, that's exactly what they want. They think that's good for America. They think that's great for America. That suddenly, with him in prison for the rest of his life, Americans will begin the process of getting it. Like John Dean said last night on TV. He said Trump voters are slow to learn. Did you get that's a loaded response to this gal Caitlin that has which I happen to like, don't agree with her a lot, but she's a good host. And their belief is, they believe with all their heart, that you can't cut off the head of the serpent and then the rest of the serpent will die. And there won't be other little serpents happen. That conservatism will just go away. That suddenly everyone will be for higher taxes. Suddenly everybody would be for open borders. Suddenly everybody would be for abortion on demand. Suddenly everybody would be for getting involved in foreign wars that you can't win. All of a sudden there would be, everyone would agree you should back the criminal when he kills somebody, not the victim. That suddenly our agenda will be embraced. You know what scares me? They could make it happen. Crazier things that happen in countries. Because when you let the rule of law get abused like this, that's the beginning of the end. This is Alan Autry. No retreat. Just do your best. Let God do the rest. God bless and love y'all. And hopefully we will see you tomorrow, Friday. Bye-bye now.